All right, so in international news, rescuers have spent a third day searching for a missing tourist submersible that vanished whilst taking wealthy passengers on a voyage to the wreck of the Titanic. The miniature sub was built to stay underwater for 96 hours, giving the 5 people aboard until tomorrow morning before air runs out. 1 pilot and 4 passengers were inside the vessel, when it lost communication with the parent ship on the surface about an hour and 45 minutes into its 2-hour deep dive off the coast of Canada. So for more, we're going to cross to our correspondent in New York, Sherwin Bryce-Pease, for the update. A very good afternoon to you, Sherwin, South African time, of course. Thank you for joining us. Oxygen and air supplies are dwindling at this point. What's the latest emerging as we speak?
Yeah, Lisa, we're in the last chapter in a sense here, right? You talk about 96 hours of oxygen when this submersible vessel began its voyage down to the depths of the ocean to view the wreckage of the Titanic. We are now into Wednesday, and as you correctly point out, by Thursday, oxygen on board this craft is going to start running out. We understand that a multinational level in terms of search capacity has been deployed. You have the US Coast Guard, the Canadian Coast Guard, French agencies, US Navy, Air National Guard, and other private companies deploying vessels at the surface. Canadian air surveillance aircraft are scanning the search area, which we're told is the size of Connecticut. And overnight, Liesl, this Canadian aircraft picking up banging noises, which has really sort of shifted the optimism levels here. The trajectory has been sort of dire, but these noises, the banging noises, gave experts some hope. You will understand that if you lose communication with a submersible vessel like the Titanic, the only way to then communicate with people up at the surface would be to bang on the hull of this vessel. And so the hope is that these noises might have been, these 5 passengers banging on the hull, trying to communicate their location. And the only way to identify the location are the deployment of what's called, sonar buoys or sonar vessels at the surface, so that they can sort of geolocate where at a depth of some 4,000 meters, essentially 4 kilometers below the ocean surface, is where the Titan could be at this point. Of course, these banging noises giving experts some hope. Let's listen to Dr. David Gallo, who's an underwater exhibition expert, talking about what this might signal. Watch.
It changes my thoughts incredibly. So now I have this giant burst of optimism. And the question is, this banging. We've heard in the past with Air France 447, with Malaysian Air, that there were noises coming from the sea, and that must be the plane, and it turned out not to be. So I'm hoping they have to work quickly to identify where that noise is coming from, and then investigate what that noise is. So, and right now there's no time to analyze things. They should be moving equipment toward the sound, so that if they identify it as man-made or human-made, they've already got equipment on the way to the bottom. I mean, we're really short on time at this point.
Well, Dr. Gallo, obviously.
And Liesl, as we point out, various vessels are on the surface, including sea vessels with side sonar scanning capabilities. And we understand by this afternoon, Wednesday, our time, 3 vessels, a French vessel equipped with underwater deep sea robot surveillance technology is going to also be deployed. So really speaking to a multinational effort, all hands on deck as oxygen, of course, runs out on that submersible vessel.
Sherwin, thank you for that context. At this point, do we know how the vessel, went missing? Were there known safety concerns ahead of them deep diving?
There were safety concerns. It's a good point you raised. The New York Times first reporting, on a letter that was sent by an organization known as the Marine Technology Society, essentially underwater sea experts, to the CEO of OceanGate, Stockton Rush. Stockton Rush, of course, is one of the 5 passengers on board the Titan at this time, flagging what they believed was the company's experimental approach and its decision, this is according to the reporting, to forego a traditional assessment that could lead, they said, to potential catastrophic problems with the Titan. Look, we don't know if what they said in a letter to the CEO of OceanGate in March of 2018 points to what might or might not have happened in this sort of failed expedition. We don't know the details here, what has gone wrong aboard this craft. We will only be able to understand exactly what happened here once an investigation is complete, and we're certainly not at that point yet. We're at the rescue and salvaging a stage of this effort, and the focus right now is to identify where this vessel is and see if they can somehow bring it back to the surface. Remember, you're talking about a vessel at the depths of 4 kilometers below the ocean surface. You're talking about a vessel that is 6.5 meters in length. So this is a small space for 5 grown men. We understand that in terms of ablution facilities, there's a tiny little toilet with a curtain separating, the person using that facility from the rest of the people on board. So this is a very confined space with very limited maneuverability on board, and certainly at those depths. So time of the essence here in terms of locating. But then the question remains, Liesl, how do you then bring that vessel back to the surface if it cannot maneuver by itself, if its engines have failed? What sort of technology? A big magnet, but from a big ship, at those depths? I just don't know how you bring that vessel back to the surface. And of course, what will the condition of the passengers be on board?
No, absolutely. There's more questions than answers at this point. Just very quickly, I want to draw attention to the profile and the names of the individuals who are on the vessel at this point. Some criticism received about the attention that they have garnered at this point, and how we weigh it against refugees or economic migrants who obviously flee disaster situations, who don't receive the same attention.
Yeah, these are very wealthy people. A seat on board the Titan costs $250,000, so that's 4.5 million rand, more than that, certainly. So this is an expensive exercise, an expensive endeavor, only for people that certainly have means, including Hamish Harding, who's a British billionaire, Shahzada Dawood, and his son Shahzada Dawood is a Pakistani-born British multi-millionaire, and his son, who's 19 years old. Paul Henry Nargeliot is a French explorer. I don't know what his net worth is. And then Stockton Rush, of course, the CEO of this company, is also on board. So certainly, in terms of net worth, lots of money at the bottom of the ocean right now.
All right, Sherwin Bryce-Pease, thank you for joining us here and for giving us that update. Our correspondent in New York, obviously bringing us the latest. This is the story hogs international news. Rescuers have spent a third day searching for missing tourist submersible that vanished whilst taking wealthy passengers on a voyage, as we heard on that update by Sherwin Bryce-Pease, to the wreck of the Titanic. So as time is of the essence at this point, we'll continue to monitor and see what unfolds from here on too.